we're going to look at 5-24, and I've gone in and loaded the information into Excel. So the first thing we need to do in 524 is to use simple job costing to prepare a product line profitability report. So a product line profitability report using simple cost. Simple job cost, product line profitability. Okay, so let's start then by taking these categories right here, and let's copy those and start with those right down here. So based on that, we'll start with a revenue line. And in this case, we get that information right from the problem. I'm going to copy that on over. And in this world, I'm also going to add in a total, and I'm going to sum it across. Again, it's nice to look at it by product, but I think from a holistic standpoint, we also need to consider this by company or by division, whatever this happens to be. So let's look at our cost now. We have cost of goods sold, which we are given. Again, this is direct cost here, so we're going to go and put this in. I'm going to sum this across. And then from there we have our store support. And for the in this particular area, the book tells us that we're looking at this for family supermarkets. Family supermarkets actually is getting 30% for the cost of goods sold allocation basis. So from a store support, we are charged from the parent, I'm assuming, 30% of our overall cost of goods sold is going to go into supporting this product line, and that's how we're allocating it. So we're allocating it based on 30% of cost of goods sold. I'm going to actually go back into my formula and just modify this so that it can become an absolute value, so that I therefore can copy this across without losing that reference to the 30%. And I will sum that, and that gives me 36,000. So from a cost perspective, this is all we need to take a look at. I'm going to add these up and get a subtotal. I'm going to stick a line in there saying that it was a subtotal. And then I'm going to go calculate my operating income. So we'll take our revenue value and subtract out the costs to come up with that. And then let's actually get a percentage as well. So let's format this as a percent and stick another 2 decimals in there. Or let's put 1. 2 is good. So we'll copy these across. And therefore we can see, and let's see what happens if we highlight this. And we'll do some formatting here to be consistent with the way I've formatted other things. And this is what we're looking at for number 1. So if we were to do this based on a simple cost structure, we can see that this is how those profitability by product segment would look like. So now, as you know, the next thing we need to do is actually prepare this based on an activity-based costing. So we're going to use activity-based costing to come up with these same kinds of analysis so that we can then compare doing it in a simple way, as we learned in Chapter 4, doing it with the new way, which is activity-based costing, which we learned in Chapter 5, and then we can do some analysis. So that's how we'll do that. So we are going to have the same area to start with here. Before we do this, I think it probably makes sense to go set up some activity-based costs I think we need to remember that we're going to be looking at this area. So when it looks at cost allocation usage, this is the area that we need to be paying attention to in the information that was given to us. So with that said, let's start. We have revenue. Oops. And that we can actually take is the same. So I'm just going to take this and move it across. We have our cost. Again, our direct cost, which is our cost of goods sold. That is going to stay the same. So that does not change. It's only the allocated that we are changing between methods. So this looks the same. So it's the support structure allocation costs that are going to look different. So in our case, instead of taking 30% as they did of the cost of goods sold, we need to come up with a more refined system so that we can compare these product lines. So we're going to look at ordering, which is based on our purchase orders, which we know from up here. So we're going to take, in this case, we have 30 purchase orders, and we're going to multiply that. And it says up top here from the book that a cost of a purchase order is $100 per order. I'm going to absolute value that again so that I can copy it across. So in this case, we learned that we have $3,000. I'll copy that over and sum it. Let's sum it this way. And that gives us 6,800. We'll then look at the next area, which again, according to our book, says it's going to be delivery. So from a delivery standpoint, we know that we have 98 deliveries. We're going to multiply that, and in the book information, it tells us that a delivery is $80 per. We're going to absolute value that, and then we are going to copy that across. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of these. The process, again, is similar once we start doing it. We are looking at shelf stocking. In this case, we know that our shelf stocking information is coming from here. We have 183 hours, and each hour is going to be at $20 per hour. We'll absolute value that and calculate it across. And then we will sum total across. It keeps wanting to go vertical. We want it to go horizontal, so we'll change that. We have customer support. So in this case, we are told again in our data that we have, this is based on items sold. There are 15,500 items in the baked goods area. In each of those items, we're told is 20 cents. I'm going to absolute value the dollars here, the monies. I'm going to spread it across, and then I'm going to total it horizontally. And then I'm going to add these up. So my total cost is, again, a sum total from the 38. So 55.6. For baked goods, let's bring this across, and let's stick a bar on top of it so that we know that that's a subtotal. We'll then go down to operating profit or income. We'll take the revenue line and subtract out the cost that we've calculated, and then we'll also put this into a percentage so that we can compare these. Let's put that out a couple decimals here. And then let's copy these across. And then let's format this to look the same as the others. And then we can do a quick comparison. So if we were looking to compare these, which is what we're going to be asked to do next here, in step 3, it says, what new insights does the activity-based cost system in requirement 2 provide to us if we are looking at family supermarkets? So let's put that down and figure some things out based on this. So if we were looking, again, I'm going to look at the percents because I think it gives us more value. If we look at the rankings of products in terms of profitability, this might be sort of interesting here. So if we were looking at this on a simple base, simple job cost, we would have our, let's just set this up. So baked goods, we have frozen goods, and we have milk and juice based on these, right? So we would have, if we're looking at kind of high to low, we say baked goods, we have frozen goods, and then we have juice. And the reason these aren't coming out is because I need to change the formats. So let's put those into a percent. And we can see that that's how those looked. Based on a ABC system, our ranking looks a little different, right? We can go and look at our frozen products are the highest performer right here at 21, followed by our milk and then by our baked goods. So it's actually quite different. So we have frozen, we have 21% for that. And again, let me format these so we can see them as we drop them in. And push it out a couple decimal places here. So from frozen, then we go to milk, which this is 5.8. And then we'll go to baked. So we have a little bit of a mismatch depending on which way we look at this. If we look at this same kind of analysis comparing these two systems, the percentage of revenue, cost, and goods sold for each of these, that might give us some more insight. The baked good line drops sizably in profitability when we use the ABC. So you can see if we are using simple, we're getting a 13% return. If we use activity-based costing, we get a 2.46% return. Again, I think it's interesting to try to see which one of these areas gives us more. If we look at frozen products, it's a complete opposite, right? So again, frozen products 12 versus the 21 or 22, and milk is not nearly as large swing, but still has nonetheless some. So I think family supermarkets may want to explore ways to increase sales of frozen products, and it also may want to explore price increases on the baked goods. So based on my analysis from an activity-based costing standpoint, which we know is much more accurate reflection, again, family foods, family supermarkets might want to increase or look at better shelving space or whatever to increase the amount of volume that they're selling on their frozen goods, because that really does contribute more to the business. And they also may want to look at finding ways to increase their pricing. If they were going to continue with this and on a simple basis, then they would have to look at increasing pricing on the baked goods. But if we went to an ABC costing method, then that would actually go away and we would have to kind of revisit. So that takes care of that question. Hope you're catching on.